everyone. You're listening to the Elisa Fucci Show. I'm your host, Elisa Fucci. I'm a motivational speaker, podcaster, an international best-selling book author, relationship life coach, and certified breathwork detox facilitator. They say real love takes work. Let me and experts from all over the world help you make being in a relationship fun and easy. Hello. Welcome to my podcast episode. And you may have noticed that I changed my intro music and I changed the name to the Elisa Fucci Show, because why not? Why not name a podcast just under my name? My name is so majestic, like it stands out on its own. So why not? I wanted to bring in someone to my podcast today because she taught me so much about emotions. She gave me, and maybe other coaches teach it, but how she taught it to me, it just clicked. So hopefully it'll click for you and help you stop trying to fix your emotions and instead allow them, embrace them, welcome them into your life, because trust me, it'll make your life so much better. It'll make your relationships better. It's just every aspect of your life will improve if you just allow your emotions to come and vibrate through your body and just not make it a problem. I know this sounds easy, especially with my voice. It sounds easier said than done, but trust me, it is so powerful. And the moment I started doing this, I was like, wait a minute. I've been trying to fix my emotions, especially now that I'm a coach. I was trying to fix my emotions. I was trying to, and now I have all the tools. I don't need to feel all these crappy emotions. I can fix them because I know how to change my thoughts that change my emotions. So voila, I'm good. I'm set, right? Like, so for me, it was like, change the emotions. Try to be happy. Have happy, positive thoughts so you can be happy and you can have amazing results. So when I didn't, it was all hands on deck. I had to go and fix the problem. I had to fix it whenever I felt disappointment, anger, frustration, jealousy. No, that's a big no. You can't have those emotions. So let's talk about how to allow your emotions. And my guest today, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. My guest today is Sarah Plowman. She is my coach. We just finished our 6-month coaching program together. So, it's bittersweet, but I'm so glad that I have her here with me. Sarah is a life and business coach helping you embrace icon status and get rich with ease and style. And oh my gosh, she is a style like icon, really. Like, so Sarah, welcome.
Why, thank you. That was quite the introduction. And I am so grateful for the invitation and excited to be here today to talk to you and your audience about all things emotions.
Yay. Do you want to add anything else to your intro? Anything else? You're good?
You covered the bases. Yeah, that's
okay.
I'm a business coach and really I almost stumbled accidentally on emotions being one of the main things that I talked about. So it was kind of a happy accident. And yeah, I'm excited to talk about them today.
Awesome. Yeah. So what I kind of was saying is for me, it was just trying to fix it. For me, it was don't feel negative emotions. Don't feel it because I don't want to. And I've heard so many people tell me this. I hate feeling negative emotions. I hate crying. I hate feeling sad. I don't like feeling anxious. I don't want to have panic attacks. I don't want to be depressed. How do I get rid of it? How do I make it go away? What do I need to do so it doesn't last this long? What do I do so next time it's not as it doesn't take over my life? Like those are the questions that I get all the time. So what would you respond to that?
Hmm. Well, I can definitely relate. First of all, my whole life, adult life, I really thought of myself as someone who was very emotionally intelligent. Like I had a high EQ. And I thought, no, I know how to feel all of my emotions. I'm aware of what they are. And then when I really discovered life coaching and had access to these tools, I realized there was kind of an unofficial list of emotions that were on my do not feel list. Kind of like you just mentioned jealousy, right? Oh, we do not feel jealousy. And I became aware that there were all of these emotions that I just was unwilling to feel. And I also characterize them as negative emotions. And some of my heavy hitters were like emotions that I didn't want to feel were disappointment and judgment and guilt and shame. Those were like my big ones. Like I would go out of my way to not feel, especially those four emotions. And I thought if I was feeling them, then something had gone wrong. So I would jump through all kinds of hoops internally to and sometimes externally and go into all kinds of people pleasing and all kinds of showing up out of obligation rather than authenticity. So I didn't have to feel those emotions. And the big thing that changed for me was understanding that no emotion is bad, right? That emotions are just human experiences that we're meant to have. So one, like it's not a problem to feel anxiety. It's not a problem to feel disappointment, for example. And then once I learned that, I also learned that there's a difference between allowing an emotion and indulging in an emotion.
Oh, yes, let's talk about that one.
Game changer. That realization was a game changer.
Yes, because I've heard people tell me, well, if I allow depression, it can take a whole month away from my life. It can just take over every aspect of my life. And I'm like, then you're not allowing, you're indulging in it. So, talk to us about the difference between allowing and indulging. Like, what would that look like?
Yes. The metaphor that I or like the image that I like to use to explain is it's kind of like swimming upstream. So if you're, let's say you're feeling anxiety and you like, that's not unpleasant. That's unpleasant, right? To feel anxiety coursing through your body. Sometimes it feels like a tightness in your chest, or maybe your cheeks are red, or your heart rate is elevated. Maybe you're sweating a little bit more than usual. And we don't like to feel that feeling. So we want to get it over with as quickly as possible. But the way that our brains do that is often very counterproductive. And we end up trying to solve it like it's a problem, which ends up prolonging the anxiety. Mm-hmm. So it's like we're trying to swim upstream in order to get where we want to go. So you're exerting a lot of effort and energy, and you're going in the wrong direction. You're just making things take longer. But when you actually allow an emotion, and we can talk more about how like my process of doing that, but when you actually allow an emotion, it's like surrendering to the feeling and letting it take you downstream. And it actually helps you feel better faster. And we don't think that. We think the way to feel better the fastest is to stop feeling this way. But that's like corking up a bottle and keeping all of that anxiety pent up inside of you. And it's actually just prolonging the experience rather than shortening it.
Yes. And I remember like you are so good at asking like the perfect questions to get to like to start experiencing the emotion. Because I think you're a question away from really allowing yourself to feel an emotion. So you are so good at coming up with questions. And I remember you just asking me all these different questions that got to the root of the cause of like why I wanted to fix the problem, or why I didn't want to feel this emotion, or why like what my brain was trying to stop me from feeling. Maybe it was a secondary emotion that it's like, oh, because if you feel this, you're going to feel this other one, which is a lot worse. So trust me, I'm protecting you, right? Like your brain is like, no, trust me. Like, so you're so good at coming up with like these questions that get you to start thinking like, ooh, like some of the questions I remember you were asking me is like, what do you think your brain is trying to protect you from, right? Like, what is it that you're trying to avoid? What emotion are you trying to avoid by going through this emotion right away? Or like, because it might not be just anxiety, it might be something else. It might be like disappointment that you're here again, you're here having another panic attack where you should be over this, or you're here sad again over a breakup or a divorce where you shouldn't be. You should already be over that, or a heartache, anything that you're experiencing. So it's like, it's really like you're avoiding feeling shame or guilt or whatever it is. So what are some questions that our listeners can start getting those juices going, that get them to start seeing really what it is that their brain is telling them?
That's a great question. And I think before you start asking yourself questions, you just have to interrupt the cycle, that fear cycle, because that saying, like, there's nothing to fear but fear itself. Like we're often just afraid of experiencing our own emotions. Our nervous system sees our emotions as life or death, the same way as if you were like about to step into oncoming traffic, or a tiger is chasing you out in the desert, or wherever those animals are. So we have to first interrupt that cycle and just tell ourselves that we're safe and calm ourselves down and just create safety in our physical body. And then when you're outside of that reaction cycle, then you can step into curiosity and start asking questions. And
I
that,
love that.
yeah,
Sorry.
like,
Yeah. I love that because I remember like from the first times I started following you, you were so good at doing that, at allowing the emotion to just be like you. I remember watching, being in one of your master classes, and you just started bawling. You hit record and you started bawling, and I was like, "What the heck is happening here?" Like, okay, she's crying, like, and you're like, I am just feeling the emotions, and they're showing and they're manifesting as tears. Like, and you had us all walk through, like, what are you feeling right now? This is what I'm feeling, and I just loved the vulnerability, the willingness that you had to just experience whatever emotion that was in front of all the people that were watching you. And I was like, I want to do that. I realized at that moment that I did not allow myself to just have an emotion run through me, let alone in front of public. Like, that's a big no-no. And I think that's a lot of people have that belief. You don't show your emotions in front of people. You don't do that, especially maybe for women, because then we can tend to look too emotional. So I think like a lot of my listeners might have that same belief, that if you allow your emotions to come through you, to vibrate through you, then you might look too emotional or like just weak. But I remember you were so good at just letting the vibration go through you, so then you can get to the curious stage. But it's just, so what would that look like if you could describe it for our listeners? Like, okay, they're having anxiety or nervousness, what would it look like if you can just walk them through it?
yeah, of course. It's actually so simple. The steps of what that looks like are so simple. And the only time it gets complicated is in the practicing of it. But even that just requires practice. But the first thing that you do when you are experiencing emotion, the first thing that I do is I drop out of my head and into my body. Because emotions are simply, you've used this word, vibrations or sensations in our physical body. And we have this narrative in our head, or this fear that they're so painful, again, like they're a life or death situation. But when you actually start paying attention, it's just a little discomfort, right? Like it's a tightness